Hey guys, new video here talking about Delirium stuff. Ooh, Delirium is coming on the 13th. Spooky. Whoa, very spooky. So it's gonna be a pretty cool week. A lot to go over. Basically, what I went over the last stream is I went to reddit.com/r/path of exile, and there is a mega thread highlighted in green at the top of the subreddit. And I had been playing some other games. I hadn't really been looking at PoE news because, like, you know, if you're like done with the league and then these news tidbits come out like every day, twice a day, it's like, it's kind of like staggered, it's kind of weird. So I wanted to like consolidate most of it into like one video, right? And right now we still don't know everything because there's still a bunch of reveals. I'll pop up the release schedule above here, and so you can kind of see how that's coming out. It's 2 p.m. Pacific time if you live in the United States, back-to-back World War champs, by the way. And so that means if you're living, like I live in Chicago, so it's like 4 p.m. for me. If you live on the east coast of the US, that's 5 p.m. And then New Zealand is like in the future. It's like, ooh, it's like kind of weird. I don't even know how that works, but they live in the future, so they're one day ahead. So for them, I think it's like Saturday, but for us, it's Friday, the 13th, okay? That is what time it starts. So you can like do some math, you can do some calculations on the internet and find out what time it starts for you. But really good time if you live in NA. Now, talking about Delirium, what you're gonna go through is you're gonna see a mirror of Delirium, right? It's kind of cool because it looks like from this little picture, you're reflected on the other side of the mirror. So what if it's like some weird cool mechanic where you can fight yourself? Who knows? But in every map, they said close to the beginning, you're going to find one of these mirrors and then you're going to touch it, and it basically is a breach-like system. They kind of explain it like a donut system, and I don't really know how that works, but maybe it's like it expands out like a breach like you would expect, and then as it's closing, because it is like a limited time, I think, maybe up to a minute or something. If you don't kill monsters, it'll go away faster. If you're killing all the monsters, there's like a loot streak thingy, and you will be able to extend that fog further out in the map, right? Maybe the donut means that like from the middle, one of my viewers made like a really hilarious image that I might put up here, where like maybe it expands like the breach and then from the middle it disappears like an actual donut, right? So if you get the disappearance and the expansion at the same time, it actually looks like a donut where the fog is. One thing that everyone's wondering is that the fog and everything looks like it's gonna be performance heavy. And from what we know, you know, performance is a huge issue in PoE still these days. There's things, I have other YouTube videos talking about how you can maybe fix that a little bit, but for the most part, there's still crashes, there's still gonna be bugs, there's still gonna be maybe some performance issues. So that's like really scary for us, even those of us with really good PCs. But Bex came out with a post kind of explaining the TLDR. Not gonna bore you with the details because I don't even understand the details. I'm not much of a like really like tech savvy graphics person. So basically, it's a new technology that is going to make it less intensive on your computer. It's like, it's a lot less crazy than, for example, the ghostly fog hideout decoration, a lot less intense than like the particle heavy things, and that's good. I'm excited about that. So that's pretty cool. Don't worry about that. Going forward, we know that it's like Breach League, and we know that there are going to be a new type of currency. So for example, like in the past, this video is going to assume that you've played all the leagues up until Metamorph. So like some things I might just completely gloss over because I'll assume that you know where it is. So if you played Metamorph, this video is like going to be okay. Everything will just be new and what we know so far. And if you haven't, then things might be a little bit iffy, but you can go and we can take a look at those. So basically, you know how in leagues like Essence, we introduce essences, which are permanent to the game. Metamorph, which is going to be permanent to the game. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. You know, the organs and that reward in the lab is core of the game. In Talisman, pretty garbage league, but in Talisman, they dropped the Talisman as like the new league item. In Breach, there was the Splinters, the Blessings, all that good stuff. So every league kind of introduces a new type of orb, whether it be a currency orb or like some kind of special thing like incubators from Legion. And so what we have here is the Delirium orb, and it is teased right now. There's like 5 different types, so there could be more. There might be some special ones, who knows. And what really interests me is that it stacks up to 10, right? Because you look at incubators, maybe it's a technology thing, like with scarabs they can't stack, fragments they can't stack for some reason, or sorry, not fragments, fragments can stack now, but like the blessings of the breach lords, they don't stack for, or they don't go into like the currency tab or something. But these like have a stack of 10, and I really like that because it kind of makes me think, if they're going to display it in a stack of 10, doesn't that probably mean that we're going to get a decent amount of them? If you ever run Legion from the map device, or you run Legion League, You know that every Legion pylon that you came across was, I'm just gonna go out on a limb, 3 incubators. 3 incubators, pretty good, right? Especially since you weren't like, most of us weren't like auto applying them right away. There's some bad incubators. There's some one that you might save up and you might do them all at once so that it's not like procking the outcome, the reward at like different times. It's kind of weird to keep track of. So this gives me hope that it is a very common or maybe just like slightly uncommon resource that we will be able to use a lot of and experience the league to the fullest. Okay, it needs to be said that there is Delirium in every map. Okay, maybe not every zone, but definitely every map. And they said it's gonna be close to when you first pour in, so you want to go hunt for it like you might for an abyss or a breach or something like that. Sometimes you miss it entirely, right? Because if you're like me and you're playing a faster build, usually for mapping, for farming, sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna come back to that breach. I'm gonna come back to that strongbox. I'm gonna come back to that Cassie. I'm gonna come back to that that abyss. I never do, right? Because I'm 2 screens away. I forget. I'm talking to somebody in chat. Who knows? This is cool because if it's close to the initial portal, you're gonna pop the Delirium and you're gonna clear the map like normal right from the start, right? Not much to think about there. So very ease of use, very new player friendly. You don't have to like really know the map layouts because there are some map layouts. I'm looking at you, Spider Lair. Even though I like that map, that left offshoot is like, do I go there or not? Right? It's like these map layouts might confuse a newer player, so that's kind of cool. It's at the beginning. Delirium orbs give rewards. Think of them like incubators for maps, except for they add like a little bit more like spooky rewards. So if you're gonna look at, I'll post the images right up here, and you can see the rewards that they give. They add a certain level of delirium or deliriousness to the player, right? It's 20% per orb. You can have up to 5 of them on every map, so pretty great rewards. It sounds like if you can stack these orbs or you can trade for them. You can also see a map right here. The prefix suffixes are just explained in the map title. You can see them very commonly, the beyond roll and the dodge chance roll, right? That's the same as a blue map from any other league without the Delirium stuff, but in the light blue text is the Delirium rewards. So this map, for example, has 2 of the rewards on it, fossils and currency, and then players are 40% delirious. We don't know what that means. We don't know if there's like some special bonus if you're 100% delirious. Maybe some crazy stuff can happen. Maybe the rewards are multiplied. We don't know yet, but we do know that I believe that these things are dropped at the end of the map, probably on some kind of special boss, because the way they explain it, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's kind of like an incursion system where you're not going to be picking up these tiny loots as you go. You might pick up the splinters, which is another thing, but I think that the map rewards are from the end of the map, okay? But we'll see as that goes on. And another thing that's really cool about this is that it kind of affects all the current stuff in the map. So if you have a strong box, you open that, you open a breach, you open an abyss, you open a legion pylon. The mist kind of adds a modifier of some sort, we don't know the exact details yet, to those modifiers to make them A, more deadly, and B, more rewarding. So that's great. Risk versus reward. I guess if you're like if you're kind of scared, you can not push out too far or not hit certain league mechanics, because a lot of mapping today in PoE is waiting around for leak mechanics. If you were to take a time, like frame by frame, you record your gameplay and you record your time in a map on when you're waiting for a strongbox breach, legion, Cassie, metamorph, whatever, right? That time is probably going to be a lot longer, especially picking up the loot from those things. It's going to be a lot longer than just like traversing around and clearing maps. So this is nice that if you're scared of like opening too much stuff, you don't have to do a lot of other league mechanics while the mist is there. And once again, if you stop killing stuff, it will go away eventually. Okay, but in this case, you're probably not using Delirium orbs on it, because Delirium orbs are more for like if you know you can kill all this stuff already, if you have a solid build, you know what you're doing, and you can go for a little bit of extra reward. Okay, that is pretty good. Now, right now we see like the currency one, we see the unique item one, we see the essence one, we see the map one, and we see the fossil one. Fossil one could be cool if it's the rare fossils, but I don't think it's going to be, because the incubators can't be the super rare fossils, and the map ones could be cool. I mean, we might see some different tiered unique maps that could be nice, just some help with some early map sustain. Essences, I don't really care too much about essences. I don't do much essence crafting, and most people these days, all essences can be really nice. It's kind of it's taken playing second fiddle to some of the other things like fossil crafting and some of the other crafting methods. And then especially now with like the Conquer stuff, right? Those items are just insane. Unique items very exciting because you get a headhunter, you can get some pretty cool league specifics probably out of there. It'd be kind of weird to not have an everything league at this point, and by everything league I mean a league in which all non like super locked league or like legacy uniques can drop. So you can't drop a header, you can't drop things from domination, like you can't drop things from what's another league, like Anarchy League or whatever. Okay, and the currency one, obviously you can get Exalts, possibly Mirror from that. So pretty cool overall for these orbs. Simulacrum is basically a breach stone. If you play Breach League, you collect 100 of these splinters and then you form a stone, right? This is called a simulacrum, and in the trailers and all the other marketing materials that you've seen, there's like a guy with like 2 horns that you will be fighting probably as the map boss. But some people have theorized maybe you fight yourself, who knows, right? Because it's a mirror. Isn't that cool? So that's one of the secrets we'll have to find out. So that is the end game boss. As far as we know, that is the only boss. So I always go back to Breach. In Breach, there is 5 bosses, right? Chayubs, Ul Nitol, Tool, Esh, and then the guy that drops the fire amulet, right? That for some reason goes from like 5 exalts to like 20C. It is just super weird. But I digress. So it's kind of like that, but there's, as far as we know, only one boss. We can edit the map native boss with the fog, but it doesn't change the boss into something else as far as we know. And so that's kind of cool there. Okay, so that is what we know about Delirium League. Let's talk about div cards a little bit here. So div cards, we have a few new ones, okay? So the thing with these is, for the most part, there's nothing like too crazy. My favorite one is probably going to be the Inspire Learning one. There's an Inspire Learning corrupted one here, and you'll see it up above me, and that is called the, what is it called? The Strategist, okay? And it is a corrupted Inspire Learning, which is great because if you guys don't know, for whatever reason, when a div card gets something corrupted that's a unique, it will never brick it. It doesn't roll an outcome of a corruption orb, a whale orb, at the time you turn it in. It is already rolled with a corruption for these div cards when you turn it in. So you can never get a rare jewel that's a bricked one. You know what I mean? If you turn in like 11 fiends, you're never going to get a bricked headhunter. That's just a rare belt with some random mods. It's not a headhunter. It will always have the base unique item intact. The implicit, however, could be like whatever the range of rolls is for that item or that base type. Okay, so really great, because if you ever search for something like on PoE trade, no matter what time in the league it is, let's say you have a situation where unique jewels are easily corruptible, because most of the time, besides this like tier 1 unique jewel here, you can get things like AoE, you can get things like flat damage, flat well, not base crit chance, but increased crit chance. You can get immune to maimed, immune to silence, immune to corrupted blood, which is a big one. And sometimes the ones that you're looking for, you can't get even if you have the monies for it, right? You got the currency, you're like ready to go, doesn't exist. So this card makes it so that a very chase jewel, which usually increases in price, that will be much easier accessible, because sometimes, let's say that you can get corrupted blood on a cheaper jewel, right? Like an intuitive leap, ring of blades, etc. Whatever, what a pure talent, right? Those are very cheap. But then what you can do is you can start hunting after these chase unique jewels that have something that can provide very tangible benefits in your PoE. So for example, if you know that 10% AoE is 1 radius, but you've already taken Amplify, and you've already taken, what's that one up there? Blast Radius, right? Blast Radius and Amplify, which is Templar and Witch, and you can't get like the Staff Nodes or the Arcane Expanse in the top right or some weird stuff. What that means, you're like, how can I get that 1 extra radius? Because you can see 1 extra radius. You absolutely can feel that. Well, if you just get 2 corruptions for increased AoE, 5%, that's 10% right there. Get another one, it's 15%, right? It actually has a big benefit that's like kind of cool, right? And you can kind of like shift around your priorities. Let's say you want corrupting blood on, let's say you have a Watcher's Eye that's one of a kind, okay? You have a hatred, a double hatred Watcher that's perfect for your build. Penetration and, I don't know, crit chance that you want. And now you know that you need corrupting blood, but there's no way in hell you're gonna corrupt your Watcher's Eye ever, right? Nobody does that. And so what you can do is you can start shifting the priorities onto other things, whereas you might, like, if you couldn't get this jewel before, then you'd be able to, you'd have to like just level up a few times, I guess, and get another jewel socket, or like maybe remove a pure talent, remove an intuitive leap, remove something, remove like a very nice 4-mod damage gem, which are unbelievably cheap, right? So I like that this card provides options for the jewel budgeting. Okay, that's pretty nice. Next card is we have something called the Cheater, the 2-time, okay, the CD Omega Lol, the 2-time world champion here. And so this is a level 6 Awakened support gem. Very fun if you have extra money and you don't know what div cards to do. Like, let's say you don't want to do the demon, you don't want to do the samurai's eye. You're just like, you know, I want something like cool that I might be able to use, but I might be able to sell really early. Because remember, on Reddit, that last, well, I guess it's currently because the league isn't done yet. Someone paid a mirror for a level 623. No, it was level 620. I think 620 multi-strike, the very first one. He paid a mirror for it. And so if you're gonna jamble something, right, and you're like, you know what, it's probably gonna be burning damage, it's probably gonna be void manipulation, it's probably gonna be awakened fire penetration or something, right? That's fine. It's probably gonna be one of those things, but it's really cool to get the awakened level 6 cast on crit, the awakened multi-strike. Excuse me. You know, even things like awakened control destruction and maybe like what's the one that has like more like swift affliction, void manip, even though they're not very expensive maybe, but you could use them to gain 1% more damage, and you keep getting 1% more damage. That turns into a very big damage boost for you on your character. So I like that this exists. Probably gonna be between like 10, 15, 5 to 15 exalts, probably, depending on where and when it drops. So really exciting. Really, I like that a lot. Okay, because some gems just didn't have level 6s. I was like searching for a lot of gems that just you had to be on at the perfect time, or the people would quit the league and it was gone forever. So that's kind of nice. Another one is this little cat card, Council of Cats. Kind of cute, I guess. Nice little meme card. Feral item, right? Because feral is a tiger, it's a cat. If you guys didn't know, tigers are cats, apparently. That's cool. And it just gives you a chance at Feral's fur. The other items from Feral are ridiculously cheap in trade leagues. You don't need to worry about those. The Feral's fur can be 10 plus exalts at any time, and that's exciting. So getting that early can make your attack build really crazy, right? Open up a lot of options. So I like that. Dying Sun. Okay, Dying Sun is kind of funny. I'm gonna put up a graph here from PoE Ninja, but Dying Sun goes from like exalts to like 20C this current league in Metamorph League. So with this card, I don't know where it drops. Maybe it drops off of Harbor Bridge when you kill those two people. Maybe it drops off maps where these are like there's a moon or a sun based map. For example, is it Overgrown Ruin? And what's like the blue map that used to be OP? Moon Temple, right? Maybe like those maps have it. But basically, Dying Sun prices are going to be in the garbage. They're already in the garbage early on in the league, so who knows, right? Who knows what's going to happen there? And then so this is, I guess, is just like speeding up the power creep if you want projectiles, and you probably like, you know, if you play bows or whatever, or you play wands, you know, it could just speed up your acquisition of a very powerful item. So that's kind of cool. A little bit of power creep. I'm not against that. The next one is the Tinker's Table, and this is a picture of Nico here. He's offering 5 fossils. The biggest question is like, what is the best possibility of those fossils? Is it going to be the serrated fossil? Is it going to be the encrusted, the enchanted fossil, whatever that might be, whatever's the most expensive in bulk? Because currently incubators and some other things, like when you're just mapping and stuff, killing legion mobs that have the icon, metamorph that has the icon, you can't get bloodstained, which is a massive thing for crafting bloodstained weapons, right? And then a hollow fossil, adding an abyssal socket, that's a suffix on any of your rare items. These are very expensive, very powerful fossils that we don't have access to unless we're delvers. So if this can drop those things, then this is possibly one of the most exciting cards that can normally drop, because I can imagine so many maps, so many types of content where a 5x fossil would drop, right? Everyone goes delving eventually early on, so maybe we can just drop in the delve by natural play, right? There's a lot of, this isn't like something that's gated. I would feel like a level 6 20% gem that might just drop from Awakener. So I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I really hope it spans the possibility of all the fossils and not just like capped out at like serrated or something, right? That'd be kind of nice. And then the last one is the Easy Stroll. This picture, the girl in the picture is wearing the Viper set. And I'm kind of salty about that because the Viper set, when it released, it was like a $34 set. A week later, it was like half off, like a week later. And it happened with the Extinction set too. A week later, they cut it in half the price. Why they do that? Why? What? Nani? And so yeah, so that's the armor set. If you want to check it out, it's not that great. You know, it's barely use it anymore. So this is just a terrace map, 8 mod. It's kind of like any of the other map cards, like good early on because 8 mod corrupted is a lot juicier. Like it is a massive more multiplier than a regular rare like 4 mod, 5 mod, even 6 mod. So that's kind of cool if you can do it. You could run a terrace map, very linear map, very easy to do. There's a hideout in there that you could sell to global chat if you want, or to your guild, or if you're streaming, you can sell it to one of your viewers. It's kind of good. You know, sells for an exalt or so if you get the hideout. Most people already have it, I'm guessing, but I guess that's cool if you want to run that, sure. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I don't know if this is gonna be like unID'd, right? Because it's corrupted. It could be an unID'd map. That'd be unID'd 8 mod. Ooh, that'd be kind of special, but I don't think it will be. So that's all the div cards coming out that we know of right now. So about unique items a little bit. Algor Mortis, one of the revealed Cardinal Myths. I think this is from the boss because if you look at the theme, they said it's going to be good for MTX, like skin transferring for 60 cents or 50 cents if you buy it in bulk, transferring it onto an item that you are already wearing. So if they are a set like that, a specific look, then that is probably going to be from the Simulacrum Stone that you use to access the Delirium map boss. Okay, so these myths, I mean, I guess a 32% more lightning damage taken is a pretty massive modifier, but it's competing with a lot of other things, rampage gloves, you know, crafted gloves, you know, whatever. So it seems pretty good. It has an ES, it has a small ES variant on there, and it's got a little bit of resist, so not too bad. But sap is also pretty cool because it's like a mini enfeeble. Right, Enfeeble does everything. It's like less damage, less accuracy, whatever. But this one is like it's just like sap is 20% less damage taken. So that's kind of cool, right? That chance. When it says like 25% chance of sap in a chilling area, I don't know what that means for like chilled ground. Like, how often does it take? Who knows, right? It seems okay. There might be some nice use for us, but I'm not like, you know, I'm not like creaming my pants to get after that item. The Purtify Glorious Plate. Now this one has a little bit of life. It allows you to have both Dread and Warband at the same time. I guess that's kind of cool. A little bit of damage there. Increased duration on some of the secondary effects of those banners. Now it looks pretty good. It's like a good baseline chest. For example, like, you know, the rework like Astrand. I think Astrand is like, if you get you can imagine these previous 2 leaks how common 6-link uniques were, right? And if you get these 6-link uniques, you basically have a 7-link unique with like Astrand, and they're so common, they're so cheap, 10, 20C, what have you. I can see this as kind of one of those uniques where if you have it, if you just drop it and it's like cool, and you have like a 2-hander, so your 6-link's already in there, and you want to slap it on because you're wearing a rare chest that had 50 life and like 60 total res, yeah, that's great. But the chest slot is just so competitive these days. It is outrageous. Explodey chest exists, which kind of nullifies every other chest as a mapping consideration. I know there's a jewel cluster that has something about the Explodey. We'll talk about that in a second. I don't think that's that good anyways, because it's 15%. You need 6 or 7 of them to get anywhere close to what the Exploded chest is. Not really worth the points. But yeah, it's an okay chest, I guess. And as for the ring, I think the ring could be okay for like summoners. You know, you have your Skitterbot action. You probably don't want to lose the shocking of your Skitterbot. You probably want to lose the chilling because that's a little bit less important. And then you get the Socketed Curses when it matters. You know, on normal mobs, blue mobs, rare mobs, you probably don't need the curse that much. Big single target scenarios, like maybe there's a scary Delirium boss, maybe a map boss, then the Skitterbot's always going to be near that single target, and you always get the effect. That is kind of cool without having to do any weird stuff, you know, triggering curses, having blasphemy curses, even though you can get those for free sometimes, having, you know, cast on damage taken stuff. It's like reliable, and it is an option. I think out of the 3 uniques we've seen so far, the ring is probably the most solid choice, even though it still doesn't seem that impressive to me. The thing about leveling curse gems is that they're not that crazy. You know, you level a damage gem, a spell, you're probably gonna get 10% per level, more damage actually. You level a curse, if you have curse effect already, it might not even do anything, you know what I mean? Because curse effect, let's say the curse effect is a multiplier on the thing, and then the levels is just like a usually a 1% if that change to the numbers. So when the curse effect multiplies it, it's like it's like less than, okay? So that's not that impressive for like plus curse level gems. Okay, talking about unique clusters. So cluster jewels are a big part of it. We have the Delirium, we have the mechanics, we have the farming in the fog, we have the new boss fight, but a big part of it is editing your skill tree. So on the outer, it only works on the outer edge of your skill tree. You can branch out and go for different jewel clusters, right? You can have a large cluster that can have a medium and then a small. So you can't go from like a small cluster to like a medium to a large, as far as I know. They basically allow you to kind of build out these branches on the outer rim of your skill tree to get new notables, new keystones. They say like 280 new notables, a few new keystones. Pretty cool. Some of them like okays. Haven't been too impressed so far. But the cool thing about it is the budgeting of them. So I'm gonna pull up an image right here, and this image is a unique. It is a unique jewel that you can socket in. It provides 3 clusters. Okay, and so when you're thinking about budgeting, right, we are thinking about what I mean by budgeting is like if I say how much life do you want to get for 1 point on the skill tree, most people would say 4 to 5%, right? Because that's all you can get. Later on, if you the higher levels you go, the more you're leaning towards 4%. I ask you about spell damage, you're like, man, I'd love to get 16 to 20%, but then later on you might be looking at 10 to 12%, right? And so this is what I mean by budgeting. How much can I get for 1 point? So if you were going to take this is really nice for 2 scenarios. A node like this is good if you want to budget with really nice jewels, like perfect 3 or 4 mod, like very highly rolled 3 mods, or like 4 applicable mods. Because if you look at the small node in the middle, that's like a hidden travel node that does nothing, right? And so these 3 nodes allow you to do things like abyssal jewels will work, regular jewels work, unique jewels will work, but not for anything that has like a circle. Like Inspire Alerting would never work in there. Ring of Blades that comes to mind. What's the one for Elemental Hit? There's a Combat Focus, right? That's also for Wild Strike too. Those circle ones, as far as I know, don't work. So what you can do with this is if you can budget and you think, okay, if I have high enough level, and it's there's 3 nodes to get to the initial unique socket, and then there's like another 4 nodes to get all the sockets to then again. So it is 7 nodes to get 3 open sockets. And overall, if you don't want to do the math, I did the math for you. It's about a net gain with really good 4 node jewels. It's a net gain of about 6. All right. And I calculated that as I was conservative too. I calculated that it was like, let's say like life nodes, you actually can get 5%. Let's say you're at the Scion wheel for whatever reason, right? And so you calculate that, it's like 35% life total, put on each jewel, the 3 open ones, you can get 7%, that's 21%, 35 minus 21, that's 14. Well, 14 is, let's just say that's 3 points. Sure, let's just say that's 3 points. So we're gonna subtract the 3 points, and then now another, in the other modifiers that would be open instead of that life, you would have about 6 points, right? And once again, this was really good gear, so it is an option. That's one option. The second option is that if you are constrained on unique jewels. So for me, situations that I often run into are like if I'm playing EK or any other thing that has a threshold jewel, you might really want that jewel right there, but it might not be good points. For example, there's a node above Ranger that is like if you want to go left of phase acro, right? For whatever reason, you're like somewhere up top. Sometimes you might have to go like 4 or 5 points to get that jewel node, right? And you really need it because like Ring of Blades fits there, and by fitting it somewhere else, you might lose a Glorious Vanity, a Brutal Restraint that's perfect for another slot, even though it could be swapped and you could lose one of them. So in these scenarios, what this jewel could be good for is swapping unique jewels into the 3 socket, right? The unique cluster jewel 3 socket, and now you free up the circular, like, what do they call it? Threshold jewels? Yeah, threshold jewels to be placed more freely along the path, possibly saving you points, possibly saving you a more efficient cluster, possibly not breaking your timeless jewels from Legion League. Okay, that's like another thing. It gets a little bit esoteric here, but that's how you can think of it. Overall, very good to have the possibilities. Okay, we'll look over like all these other unique gems. I'll put them up on the screen. I don't think it's like anything too interesting right now. The one with all or whatever, like the anime one, whatever, all like the all man, you know, the Hero Academia one's like one for all for 1 punch or something. It's basically you don't wear gloves, you don't wear an offhand, you don't wear a weapon. So it's like face breakers, except you can't wear the face breakers or the shield, and then you deal a flat amount of damage based on dex. Dex stacking would require a brutal restraint. It would require rolls on rare gear. There's already percentage attribute modifiers, so that's like fine. And then it would require like maybe one of these new unique jewels that allows the dex to be scaled based on passives to your starting node. And so there's a lot that could be done. I did the math a little bit on stream, And basically, how I calculated this was I took face breakers, and I know from testing, okay, and from looking at POBs and from in-game like fighting bosses that you can get like 50, 70 million Cyclone DPS. Okay, I'm not like joking about this number. This is like an actual number, 50 million for sure. You can get these numbers achievable with face breakers, okay? And when you think about what is going into these face breakers, abysses, right? 2 circles of guilt with the level, maybe level 21 to 23 purity, herald of purity. When we put these numbers in and we multiply it by 8 for the face breakers, and we come out to a flat number, you can divide this flat number by what the number is listed in the jewel, multiply it by 10, because that's every point of that needs to have the 10 dex, right? The average numbers, of course. And we come to a value of, you need between like 500 to 1,000 dex to come remotely close to a mediocre, I'm not talking about the 50 million DPS one, just a mediocre face breakers, right? And if that's the case, maybe we can scale our decks really high. Maybe there's some like modifiers, maybe because you count as dual wielding, maybe it's like there's some things that are going on which could make it scale out of control. But losing the shield, losing the gloves, I guess like face breakers besides the 800 that doesn't do much, but you know, losing the shield and everything is like kind of weird, right? It's a little bit strange. But I'm sure that with the right stats and some numbers I'm not thinking of right now, it could be a lot better than the face breakers if you want to go that way. This is a keystone. I don't believe you can have 2 of them. 2 of them would be unbelievably OP, I think. So yeah, I think it is a keystone. The other ones, not too much of you can read over them. The way that the rare ones work is you will be able to spam them. You'll be able to craft them. And now, you know how like when Timeless Jewels came out, nobody knew what the hell was going on because the numbers, every little number change was different. You had to like sock it in. You had to prove to people that it was what it was. It was a nightmare, right? And if you weren't a streamer, you couldn't sell them very easily, or if you didn't have a vouch thread of a lot of forum posts. These rares, thankfully, for anyone, should be easy to read because there's prefixes, suffixes. I think you can maybe get like 3/3. And how it works is that if you get a notable, it'll be on the bottom of the jewel. And like, just look at this like carry on shine medium cluster jewel, right? The notables tell you what they do. There's no mystery. Like you won't read a notable called like Anaki's Embrace. And you're like, what is that? What is Anaki's Embrace? I have no idea. You gotta go to some third-party website. No, it'll be listed probably. You might have to hit your alt or whatever your hotkey is for advanced tooltip. It'll just tell you what it does so you can make that decision if you want to reroll it or not, or sell it or not, you know, buy it or not. And then the little ones, when it says small passive skills, which are the tiny non-notables, those will always be on there. So on this one, when it says like 4% resistance and 7 life, right? And then the small passes also have minions have it seems like there's like some implicit stuff going on here. Minions have 12% increased maximum life. That means that every small cluster that is generated by this jewel, no matter what, will have those 3. Okay, it has to have those 3. There's no weird, maybe this one has it, maybe this one doesn't, maybe there's something that we didn't see on there. No, it is very in your face. That is what it is. People are probably still gonna get scammed somehow, right? Somehow people were getting scammed for awakened to non-awakened gems. People are going to get scammed. Just be careful when you're trading. There's a lot of numbers, a lot of stuff on here. Just like look it over, a lot to read over. If you can read, you'll be okay. And yeah, that's how the jewels work. Very nice for, there's going to be like way more stuff to do with this. You know, POV might be a nightmare. We don't even know if that's going to work, but it is exciting that there are more options on the skill tree because you've been playing POV for a long time. You know that the skill tree looks complicated, but it's not. Every archetype, you know, impale, spell, attack, this ascendancy, that ascendancy, it's all the same backbone of the same like 50 to, I don't know, sometimes 100 points. It's always the same, okay? And there's very little alteration you can do to like be like, ooh, this is my build, right? It's like ooh, you copied Zizran's build, you copied Mathel's build. It's like, no, every build just looks like that if you're attacking with a bow with physical damage, all right? Or you're striking with a dual wield conversion attack. It's like, that's just how it goes, right? It's not stealing a build, it's just how the builds are. It's very stale these days, and this makes it kind of cool. Okay, hopefully the unique items that come out make more of that. So that's what there is to know about the jewels. You can read a little bit more about it on the landing pages and on the Reddit, and overall it is a very, very good thing. Okay, and then last point of discussion, we have some like mechanics, I guess, like other little things that have been added maybe you guys haven't heard. So first is we have some new abilities, right? So if we have Stormbind, and we have Blade Blast, and we have Kinetic Bolt. It's kind of cool. It's like, you know how like there's like Summoner League, there's Bow League, which wasn't really Bow League, but they called it Bow League. This is more like a Wander League. We have like Spell Slinger as well. It's focused more towards Wander more than it is towards the other things. Now, of course, we always have to wait for patch notes and things could change, but it is looking like they're really pushing this wanding update and mana ability update, okay? So let's talk about just very quickly, because I'm usually wrong about these things. In PoE, it's very important if you're just starting out to know that what a number looks like, what someone's going to tell you if it's good or not, if someone's going to say like, this is shit, this is good, you know, this is going to be amazing at this is going to be amazing. Nobody actually knows, okay? Nobody knows until they play it. So unless that person played it in the alpha test, the closed alpha, like your Ziggy or someone, you don't actually know, okay? Nobody knows. Not me, not Mathel, not Zizrin, not anybody that's like played the game for 7 years, 8 years, okay? So with that said, these opinions you have to take with a grain of salt, because it could be wrong, because you have to feel how it is in the game. It's not even enough to know all the numbers and all the different interactions, all the new items and all the new content in PoB, okay? It's not enough. You have to play the skill no matter what in the stuff that you want to play. Like I like to map, so I'm going to play skills in mapping, right? Some people might want to boss. They're going to try those skills in bossing. So just know that, right? Going into this. Stormbind looks complete garbage. It might be a good bosser, but for mapping, it's one skill to place down the runes, another channeling skill to expand the runes and funnel your mana into them. So first, lots of mana. Maybe, I don't know how much mana you need unreserved. I don't know, like the initial cost, like the secondary cost, it's 2 skills. So it's like Contagion. It's like, imagine if Essence Drain, Contagion, you had to do both of them, but it didn't spread past like one pack. That's kind of how it feels like to me. So it seems kind of garbage, but it looks really cool, and it looks like the AoE could be pretty spectacular. So we'll see about that. I give it a C- rating for now until other developments occur. Kinetic Bolt actually looks like it has good coverage. They say that like adding projectiles expands like the forking whenever it forks, whenever it hits an enemy, basically. If that makes it wider, that could be very nice for map clearing. The fact that it scales with spell damage at a 1.5 multiplier, very exciting there. It could be a pretty nice skill. I don't really know. I don't really like Kinetic Blast or Power Siphon or any of these things these days, but I can recognize that they could be strong skills, and the kind of tie-ins with the other mechanics could be really nice for Kinetic Bolt. I do love that it has a 1.5 Crown of Eyes kind of mixed in there. Great. I think it's going to be an okay skill. I don't think you can go wrong with it, especially since you get a level 1. You try it out, you don't like it, you switch to something else. That's totally fine. Wands are getting buffed a little bit. Like they're looking at the wand values to see if like the really bad ones need a little bit more, so that you can like trade for like a 1-ouch wand early on and use that to level up all the way, right? That is something that is pretty important. So Kinetic Bolt, I think, is like top of the list for the new things, and it kind of looks beautiful. It looks actually really, really nice. There's a lot of probably interactions I'm not even thinking about right now that you could do with it. Now let's talk about Spell Slinger, because Spell Slinger is kind of huge, right? Spell Slinger is one of those things that you look at, you're like, whoa. You're like, whoa, that's kind of interesting, right? So Spell Slinger, it's like it's a skill, it's an active skill and a support. Basically what that means is that anything that's attached to Spell Slinger, any spell, will have a base 15% mana reservation cost, scaling with support gems, okay? So Spell Slinger itself just makes it the 15%. There's no multiplier on that. And then so you can have Spell Slinger, spell, and then 4 other supports if you want, and you can trigger that by having a wand attack, okay? So if you want to, you can have a wand attack and like a 3-link. You can have the Spell Slinger or multiple Spell Slingers split up across your gear, 6-link, 4-link, another 4-link, a 3-link, and your other wand maybe. And you can kind of think of it as cast on crit with wands, except for you're not really spending the mana cost, you're reserving the mana cost. And the way that I went about this, thinking about it, is I took a spell that I know pretty well. Like let's say I want to do EK with cast on crit, right? EK with cast on crit, I'm going Cyclone. I'm going cast on crit. That's 2 things lost, although the cast on crit's not really lost because it's a more multiplier and a cooldown reduction, a massive cooldown reduction if you're doing Awaken. So it's like you lose 1 node and then you get 5 supports, I guess, right? It's kind of cool. Now, we're going to look at the Spell Slinger, and the Spell Slinger, you don't actually lose a support, because let's say in your 6-link chest, Spell Slinger takes the base damage of the wand, and the base damage is like the line where it says the physical damage, the elemental damage. Okay, don't look at the affixes underneath there unless they're like a global thing that applies to like all your because like let's for example, a physical one that has like 180% increased physical damage and then added like I don't know 20 to 40 physical damage, that's already in the line item where it says 180 to 400 physical damage, right? So that is it. So you take like that, the average like 200 something physical damage, add it to your spell. And so the gem itself is a damage. Think of it like an added lightning or an added cold, except for it could be added physical, which is very strong for spells. And then you're going to take that and then you're going to link it with whatever. Now, what I did is I took like a EK thing, like I said, and I started linking what I would use with that. So let's say if I was casting EK for whatever reason, and I wanted to cast it with Spell Slinger. So I attach a Spell Slinger, that's 15% to link. I'd attach a Control Destruction, that's a 1.3 modifier. I maybe attach a Empower, right? That's a 1.25. Maybe attach a Fist of Lightning, 1.1, Fork, 1.3. And you can like shift this around because there's things that like, you know, a lot of good support gems only cost 1.1. Like the less damage oriented it is or AoE oriented, the less mana multiplier it costs. Okay, just keep that in mind. And so that turns out to be about like 34.8% mana reserved, okay, on that setup specifically. So you have to think to yourself when you reserve things like this, okay, you don't always have to do 6 link if you don't want to. You can do 2 4 links, 1 5 link, 2 5 links. You have to think about what can I do with X amount of mana that I'd be reserving, right? And sometimes it's an instant decision like, hey, I can run a Zealotry, I can run an extra Herald, I can run this, a Discipline, I can run a 35% Skitterbots, I can run a Blasphemy. There's so many things you can run for that matters. Like auras are unbelievably strong these days, right? Especially with Watcher's Eyes and things like that. And so it's just going to be up to you. It's going to be very hard to say, is this worth it for me or not? It definitely will be fun because it's like a cast on crit, or just, I guess it's a cast on attack thing that's kind of new to the game. And so you're going to be taking that and you're going to be kind of adjusting it as you play. Maybe you shift, you know, your control to like a 1.1, 1.15 multiplier so you can squeeze out a little bit more of your aura. I don't know. I think it's too soon to tell. It's really going to be, what can I do with the excess mana that was reserved? The more you reserve, the more spells you want, like firing off one attack, you know, the more opportunity cost that there is. And the good news is that with the wands, man, there's so much to go over with wands, really. Let me try to get through this like really fast because I could talk about this for like another hour. But basically, Kinetic Bolt is a good it's a good initializer, a good what's it called, an impetus for this, because the Kinetic Blast has skills with spell damage already without a Crown of Eyes or the Wand Slinger node. Okay, and so if you're scaling spell damage for your spells with Spell Slinger, then your wand attack won't be too shabby either, especially if you have a decent wand, and that wand feeds back into spells. Cool. Also, Kinetic Blast is like, Kinetic Bolt is kind of cool because Tenacity and Tranquility, right? These things that scale like damage based on your life or ES, respectively. Yeah, Tenacity and Tranquility, yeah, respectively. And those things can be used to great effect. And remember, you can anoint these things, right? That's pretty badass as well. So this could be, you know, this could be very interesting. But I'm gonna hold out. Like this is like kind of like, if you're gonna do cast on crit, you never do cast on crit as your first character because you don't have the gear and you don't have like, you just don't have the tools available. You don't really know what's going on in a new league, right? You don't know what the content's like. So it's gonna be one of those things where I wait to see what other people do and we'll iterate based off of that. I don't think it's safe for a league starter, but there is a scenario I want to talk about, and that is when we take a look at what is possible from the added damage from the wand. So the way we look at this is I'll post the thing above, okay, of how I did the math for how much damage it adds. Spell Slinger adds like, you know, about 30% more damage usually for a spell that has above 100%. Like let's say you have a decent wand, okay? For a spell that has above 100% effectiveness, usually, like one of the more meta spells we'll say, it will be about 30%. If you have less than that, you just take it with a grain of salt. But basically, if you have less than 100% damage effectiveness on your spell, it's going to be a little bit worse than 30, maybe like 20 to 25. If it's 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, whatever, it's going to be, you know, 35% more damage, okay? And that seems pretty good, but then you got to think about the support gems are also very effective in that way as well. They can easily reach those numbers too without having to do this like clunky spell, you know, stop to attack, then trigger your spells, because cast on crit exists, and cast on crit you can move while doing all your spells, and you know, Cyclone all this stuff, fortify, all that great stuff, right, with melee things. Okay, the situation I want to bring to your attention is when leveling. So let's say you get to Act 3 when Spell Slinger is available. I believe it's like Lost in Love quest, right? You rescue Tolman. And what happens here is we can look at the wands available, let's say at level 30. I think you enter Act 3 at like level 20 something, but let's just say we're level 30 and we have access to a wand. Let's say is it like a Storm Prison maybe, if you're at level 12 you got one, or what's it, like a Moon Sorrow maybe even. In these scenarios, I don't know if Moon Sorrow is actually level 30, but I can check later. In these scenarios, the damage that gets added, because remember the base damage from the wand gets added to the spell for Spell Slinger, okay? That will more than double your damage at level 30 when you're leveling. So it could be an extremely good leveling setup, because it will, like the numbers I was looking at for any physical based spell, right, before any conversion or any weird stuff, it's like it more than doubled your damage. And so, and as you scale up, you get more to the end game, more to your level 20, 21 gems, it decreases from there. But very powerful numbers wise while leveling if it holds up. So that is, that's pretty nice, right? That's pretty nice. So I don't want to talk too much about this because we'll figure all this stuff out as it goes. So that's cool. What else is there? There is a new skills like Archmage and Arcane Cloak. And basically these things require mana. Now I usually have about 50 to 100 mana unreserved, sometimes even like 20, just enough to cast out my spells usually, because I love the auras, I love what you can do with them. And so for me, when I look at these mana skills and I look at the videos where they have like 7,000 mana, they're giving up their auras for it. There's just an example probably, but it just looks kind of, I don't know about that, right? It like when I have experience with things like the Molten Shell and the Steel Skin and these things, right? And the good thing is it is instant, but whenever anything's like mana based, it's a little bit hesitant, right? Because the damage, you know, if you have a lot of mana, you're giving up auras. If you have very little mana, it's not even that much damage. So like we gotta find a good balance there. The Archmage looks kind of cool because in the video, the video is like 6-link arch, and it like multiplied his damage by like 5 times, right? But the damage still wasn't very good on the 6-link. So I don't know. I think it could be kind of cool if you want to scale the mana that way. It gives more things to mana, right? Like mind over matter is cool. Going things with like Indigon, going things with like the little lion helmet that does mana stuff. All that stuff is cool. It's just not used because sometimes it's a little bit too clunky. It's like the build could be better optimized in other ways if you want damage or defense. So this is nice that we have more mana options. I do like that. I do like how some of the more neglected items like Indigon, huge nerf coming out to that, you know, in the past, huge nerf to like Xerpes and things like that. There are more mana options now. I like it. Let's see how that turns out. Blade Blast, it's weird to say off the tongue. Blade Blast. You will never use this with automated clicking, right? You'll never press the Blade Blast button to detonate it, because that's just a waste of time. Because right now, if you're mapping, you're going to have explodey chest things that are going to clear once the first guy hits. You can see in the video with Blade Blast and things like that. It's like, it's too like here and then there. You want everything at once, right? Kill the mob, explode, the whole pack is dead, all in one swift action. That's for mapping. But for bossing, there could be some nice things. And also for automation, cast on crit, spell slinger, things like this, that could be very nice. Let's just see how that turns out. Let's see what the numbers are. It could be kind of nice as long as you get it automated. And the AoE for Blade Vortex looked really nice, but the Blade Vortex was like, you lose your things, and even with an Unleash, you know, getting the stacks back, you don't need the AoE because you have explodey chests and all these pro lift thingies. So that's another thing. So that's pretty much all I want to talk about with like the skills. I mean, I'm probably missing a couple skills, but I don't think they're like that important. Small things, I guess like not so small. Okay, with smaller things, Stash is coming to the Menagerie. That's kind of cool. Metamorph is going core at a 10% rate. Nothing else changes. It functions the same way. It's pretty cool. I like Metamorph. And then the biggest one is an Atlas one. Now, Atlas is another thing that I could talk about for an hour, because there's a lot of arguments on Reddit right now about this. I'm okay either way. I don't have a strong opinion either way. I'm okay if they give us the seals and let us target farm, or like do some weird glowy brain shenanigans to target farm certain things. And I'm also okay with them not doing that and taking those away and doing this weird like culling equity system they're calling it. Why don't they just like use normal terms, right? Like more chance of dropping a map later, and then maybe like just call it like you can't drop that map anymore. But okay, I digress. The Atlas, the really good parts is that map sustain, they've come out and just straight up said you're gonna have a lot of maps. It's fine. Don't worry about the Atlas bonus, Awakener bonus stuff like taking you down like 0.75 tiers, whatever it was. Wasn't even that big a deal because if you're doing T16 and T17 drops, it doesn't come down to T16 anymore. I don't know if you guys know that. It's gone. Okay. So it doesn't even matter. The good part is that it is deterministic once you get the Atlas spawn. So I'll pull up this image right here, and what happens is you spawn a Conqueror, and then when you spawn that Conqueror, the first time they say it's a high chance. Once that first one spawns, you have ticked one node in this box, right? So I'm guessing it's gonna be 5, 7, and 9 for white, yellow, red maps, and you will know exactly when you're gonna hit that Conqueror, right? So map number 1. You get an influence monsters maps for this is a red map example. Maps 2 and 3, you will not have anything, right? Map number or I guess 2, 3, and 4, you won't have anything. Map number 5, you will have a guaranteed spawn, and then like 6, 7, 8, you will not have anything, right? But it'll progress, and then at map number 9, you know for sure 100% the Conqueror's going to spawn again. After that, you have a free map where you go kill the Conqueror. This is really nice because it's in the worst case scenarios. You know, after you because I don't know if it's like actually random between 5 and 9, or if it's 9 for red maps and 5 for white maps. But let's say that it is variable. What that means is that best case scenario, you're gonna have 24 maps before fighting Awakener. Worst case scenario, after you've procced everything, then that is 40 maps before fighting Awakener, which is a lot better than what we were trying to speed farm and doing like hella maps without, like, some people were like, yo, I ran 50 maps, I didn't get a Conqueror, or who knows, people were resetting their hideout. They were like I was like moving my garbage can farther away because I thought it was interfering with the Wi-Fi, and I don't know, people were getting superstitious, which didn't make any sense. And now you'll know exactly when it's time to fight Conquerors and Awakener. Fantastic. It also allows for some like little counterplay where, like, if you know the Conqueror is going to spawn and the extra mobs are going to spawn, maybe use your sextants, your bigger sextants if you have them, your scarabs, your other juicers on those maps specifically. That could be kind of cool, I guess. So that's a very nice change, and it's like peace of mind knowing it works. Okay, hopefully it's not bugged out. Hopefully there's nothing weird with that. And that's great. If you want to know more about the Atlas, because Atlas, the maps themselves aren't shifting around too much. They're not swapping around like before, where like maps, if a map's tier 2 today, it could be tier 16 next league, right? No, for the most part, they're keeping it the same. Maybe small adjustments here and there, but I don't have the time to go over all the stuff. If you played Metamorph League, you just read the manifesto or the Atlas changes coming. They're all good things. Trust me, you won't have to worry about map sustain. Don't listen to Reddit about how, I can't sustain my maps. There will be an argument about, like, should you be able to do one map or not. I'm not gonna get into that here. I'm okay with both ways. And yeah, Atlas overall is massively improved. It is almost across the board. Anything you can think of that you're like, hey, was that kind of annoying? Was that kind of weird? They improved it. Okay, Atlas is in a great spot right now, barring any bugs or unintended code that's ruining things. So, like, for example, I think the code where, like, if you don't have a tier 7 or a tier 8 and you have tier 6s complete, right, and drop a tier 7 or tier 8, it doesn't like convert down into the tier 6. It just disappears. They say you get equity towards a higher map, but what the hell does that mean? Because if you don't have 7s or 8s and you're running a 6, you can't drop like a tier 9 from the boss, because the boss is only +2. The rares, blues are only +1. How does that even work? Nobody knows. So there's like weird coding things that they might need to fix and be more transparent about. But overall, mapping is amazing. Okay, and it's gonna be definitely a lot easier for new players. New players don't have to worry about this like weird stuff, okay? But newer players or less experienced, who don't care about the minutia, your experience is going to be greatly improved. I promise you that. I guess a little change of specters. I don't care about summoner. If you're a summoner, then you are living life in easy mode. Okay, I like to live life in hard mode, which is why I started with bows last league. And so summoners, there's like what, 350 new monsters or something like that, that you can use as your specters. That's kind of cool. It's a buff. That is a buff because I remember like a lot of times like if you're in the delve especially, right, like risen whale advocates are really badass, but there's those like spinny cyclone guys from the primeval ruins. You can't animate those guys. There's a lot of dudes that even when you corpse target hotkey, you couldn't revive them as a spectre. I played a lot of specters before, and so this just opens up a new type of playstyle, because every summoner build is unique, even though you're all summoners. Okay, so a skeleton boy is different than a zombie boy, different than a specter boy, different from another specter boy, different than infernal legion person. You know, there's so many different things that fall under summoner, and this just opens up more possibilities, more combinations. They said they tweaked the UI a little bit. UI is pretty good, I guess. Or sorry, not UI, the AI, so that these new mobs will be okay. Let's not beat around the bush. Most of them are going to be retarded. You're going to be running this way. They're going to kamikaze. They're not going to know what to do. They're going to shoot the one white mob. The rare mob's going to come in and one-shot you. That's probably what's going to happen, but they're trying, and that's fantastic. So Spectre changes are pretty good. Overall, no nerfs, right? Because like this was bundled into the movement skill development forum post, right? And so I was like, oh shit, Spectres are probably going to get nerfed. Nope. Buffs and more diversity. Fantastic. Okay, movement skills real quick. There's a new thing called Second Wind. Adds another charge to your movement skills, and that works for things like even like like mirror arrow and things like that. And so what it does is it doesn't add a cooldown or anything. Actually, I think like as it levels, I think you even get like decreased cooldown. But it adds another thing to like, and this is very exciting because of dash. I love dash with 100% dash enchant, and you can dash twice now with like if you link it with this for a little bit more mana. It's going to make leveling a lot better. It's going to make the mobility on maps, especially maps with elevation, a lot better, because then you don't have to wait. And besides this, you can just read the post. I'll link it. I'll have it right above here so you can kind of read it. It's just a lot of improvements to across the board for movement skills. I guess flame dash, a little bit of a nerf on the cooldown recovery, but it doesn't matter because you can have an extra flame dash there. So yeah, pretty good stuff here. I like it. Once again, when I read movement skills, I was like, oh my god, they're gonna nerf shield charge, they're gonna nerf flame dash, they're gonna nerf everything, but really not really a nerf. Okay, that's pretty fantastic, and so I'm excited about that. So that's a lot of stuff they covered today. There's a lot more stuff, and if there's any big like manifestos, like gem changes, things like that, I will make a video about them. But yeah, once again, if you played Metamorph, this video should cover most of the things that are kind of important. There's going to be, once again, more reveals, as you saw in the beginning of the video, of the schedule of the little teasers and stuff. And I hope you guys have a lot of fun in Metamorph. Once again, I should like probably preface any like big guessing videos where we don't have the content yet. Take everything with a grain of salt. Things that look good could be bad. Things that look complete garbage could be the most OP things, whether intended or not. Content creators could be right or wrong about things. We're all just guessing. We have no idea. Okay, but that just means we're really excited. And so yeah, I'll see you guys in Delirium. Okay, thanks for watching my video, guys. Bye, guys. Bye.